This is Jim Whitehead, All Power Group, All Power Animal, All Power Tech. This is a new part of my channel that I'm going to be doing. And, to be honest, I know you don't know me real well, but I am a tech guy too. I have a lot of fun every day. Now, what's interesting is, obviously, all the wonderful creators that you listen to, watch, have to have a infrastructure, technically, of switches, cameras, mics, lighting. My wife, 24, she's great, but she never could understand why I had to have this or that or this or that. Now, admittedly, I might have it where maybe I could have done with a lot less. And I've sold some of my stuff, so that's almost as good. But what we're going to talk today about is internet issues. And, the goal is, and the title of this presentation is called The Need for Speed. Over the years, and I've been in computing for, oh my heavens, about 40 years. So every day we'd be hoping for something better, bigger, faster. This is a building that I had brought down from Orlando when we bought the home in Naples. The home that we live in is about 30 feet in front of this building. This building is a 28 by 14 foot building that was built specifically for what I'm doing, and that's content creation. I did all my own electrical, all the setups. I had a ball. What you find in some locations, some are better than others, but what we had over here was we had coming down, and we're in kind of a rural area of Naples. In fact, we don't even have any cell service here, believe it or not. I know most people go, really? No cell service? If I didn't have my internet Wi-Fi, I couldn't speak on the phone. So when I'm taking a call, calling someone, it's all in my own Wi-Fi. If I lose power and internet, we're dead as a doornail. Now, that said, I ended up having two internet connections. One for the home and one for the building. That was good, but it was expensive. Too expensive for, somebody that's on, I'm not retired, thank God, but I'm on Social Security and certainly working on YouTube to become a little bit of extra dollars, hopefully sometime in the future. Anyway, the two internet connections I had were with Comcast. And believe it or not, it was either Comcast, and I had Comcast when I was over in Davie, Florida, which is straight across the bottom of Florida, 90 miles. That's South Florida east, and now I'm South Florida west. So bottom line, we had Comcast. Anyway, and again, I know I'm making this into more of a story, but bottom line, we had to cut expenses. So I have another video showing ubiquity equipment, which I use a lot for all my networking and so on and so forth. And of course, Comcast for my internet. we really needed to try to, if we could, go down to one internet connection. As a separate discussion, not now. It's in one of my, in my channel. We worked on where I could, from here, put something on the outside of the building and then something on the outside of the home. And I literally, I'm beaming. It's kind of like Star Trek. Beam me up, Scotty. But I'm beaming everything we watch on TV. I'm beaming it from here over to there. And I love projects. Some work, some don't. Some you kind of work and you got to make better. So anyway, what we did is we went down to one internet connection. So far, so good. And what I saw is and I was with the business side of Comcast, and they also have a residential side. Well, I saw that the residential side, they were advertising at $105 a month. We were spending over $350 a month. And when you've got a budget, you got to cut out whatever you can do, but still have it where it's not like, well, yeah, he used to be on the air, but now he's not because he couldn't afford to be. No, you don't do that. You just make better choices. Every day there's new, better equipment that's for whatever you're trying to do. So we went down to one internet connection. And as I started to say, the residential side, which I was not part of at that time, a couple days, week ago, I was at 1 gigabits speed, which by no means is where you'd say, oh, that's slow. Well, it's not. But when you're combining and having one internet connection, you need as much speed as you can possibly get. So I saw the residential discussing for $105 a month. I started saying this, literally 2 gigabit, not 1, 2. Now, one thing I want to say before I forget to say it, we're going to show you my equipment. And I'm going to talk about the modem, the new modem I got from Comcast for the faster speed, and what you need to be careful of where you've got to make sure you're set up, or you're not going to get the benefit of the speed you think you're going to get. So when the technician, it was a week ago tomorrow, he came with the new modem. Now, you'll see the back of the modem in a video shortly. And I said to him there were 4 connections for what we wanted to do. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I asked him, I said, do you need to use any particular one? And he said, no, they're all the same. I said, okay, so we were in, I think, probably maybe the second port. And I was getting about 1 gigabit. So I left Comcast Business, came over to Comcast Residential. We're supposed to have much faster speeds. And I'm getting good speed, but about the same. A lot cheaper. So if that was where it had to end, it's okay. But what we found is the ports on the back of the modem, and you're going to see this in 2 little movies, you might say. There's only one that's the right one for the increased speed. So, and technicians, God bless them, they're good, but they, it's like anything. The day or so after, I pulled all the information on the Comcast modem and went through everything and found that there was number 4 port was not 1 gigabit potential, it was 2.5 gigabit, 2.5 times the speed. So just these ports on the back of the modem, 3 were 1 gigabit and 1 was 2.5 times that. So a little while ago, I went, here's the problem. So the only thing I want to preface this, I have Ubiquiti equipment and my router switch is Ubiquiti. And if you're connecting, and this is the one thing I want to point out, because if you don't follow this, you will be in the same situation I was. You can be putting 2.5 gigabit out of the router, but if you're only hooked into, the modem, the Comcast modem, and you're going into a connection on your, in this case, the Ubiquiti Dream Machine router. So if you're putting a 2.5 connection from the Comcast modem to a 1 gigabit connection on your router, you're going to get 1 gigabit of speed, even though the modem's pushing out more speed. But it's saying, oh, I can't do the 2.5. You're only allowing me to do 1 gigabit. So you can see how important this is. So on my Ubiquiti Dream Machine Pro Max, the WAN connection, which is wide area network, and that's, you won't be tested on this, but that's the actual internet side of the device. The WAN 1 is a 2.5 gigabit connection. So I'm taking a connection from the modem, 2.5, into my Dream Machine Pro Max router into a 2.5 gigabit. And that would allow, and you see down below, right below me, we do, what we call speed tests. We're seeing literally 2218.69. Before, I was only getting just under 1,000. So in other words, I'm double the speed. But it was hooking the equipment up correctly. And the other thing that's wonderful, especially for content creators, is on the right side, you see 3.52.35 MIPS. That generally, in all through the time I've ever done, all my tech stuff, typically the upload would be 40 MIPS. Now, that didn't seem to be most of the time much of a problem, but what they've done is they're approaching symmetrical connections where they're both the same. In other words, the download speed is the same as the upload speed. So in other words, my presentation I'm doing right now, it's all upload. So the fact that I'm pushing many more MIPS up, it's certainly the quality's better. You don't have glitches as much, so it works pretty well. So anyway, now let's go into some direct discussion that's going to be, a separate video that I did. Well, good afternoon. This is Jim Whitehead. This is my station for YouTube and other things. And I want to do, this is what we call all power tech. I want to talk about a new Comcast modem that I switched to, and I'll explain that in my presentation. But there's some things about this that would benefit you if you knew a little bit more about this
part of it. I'm going to go to we go around the back.
Here we go. We're going to tell you a lot of different things.
It talks about the different ports and how important this is. Okay. Moving on to the next one.
Okay, what you're looking at now.
This is looking at the back.
This is the back.
And I'm not going to say anything
of the modem. And in my presentation, I will tell you the model number and what have you. Now, the story here.
Changes.
I had 2 internet connections coming into this property. One was for the main home, which is 30 feet away in front of the building that I'm in, which is a building that is all mine for my presentations and everything else I do. Now, as you see, talking about connections, we've got a coax cable coming into the lower left. We have a power cord that's in the lower right. Now, here's where the real benefit is when and you probably will see my hand come in, my finger. When the gentleman set it up, he connected this Ethernet cable is going to, and I'm going to pull the camera away and go into, this is the Ubiquiti UDM Pro Max, and what you're seeing on the left is the internet connection, and what the Pro Max Dream Machine Pro Max does is it is a router, and it routes. And you know, when you say, okay, well, routes, what does that mean? Every device that you have on a network has to have what we call an IP address. So what this device does, among other things, is it sets up the devices so that they all have a number. So in other words, if you had conflicting IP addresses for different equipment, like let's say a printer and what have you, you would end up having where one of them wouldn't be there. You'd say, where to go? So anyway, this connection right here is the connection that's coming from the router. Now, what we did is we put this unit in what we call, we turned off DHCP. Now, again, you won't be tested on this, but what that means is DHCP is what is giving each of the devices a separate number so they don't conflict with each other. So anyway,
almost done with
what he did, and the reason I upgraded from the business Comcast to, in this case, residential, was because they were touting for a very low price, a good price, a great price, 2,000 MIPS. And you know, if you look at Starlink and what have you, you know, people are very happy when they have 200, 300 MIPS, 400. Anything above that, they think they died and went to heaven. And yes, that's in comparison. If they lived out in the boonies of Montana, they might have had a minimal connection that was very slow, and it would contribute to, in essence, not really having much of an internet connection. So Starlink is very good for those locations that they don't have any other choices. But luckily, in the areas that have, like where we are, you have different choices. Now, I was supposed to get 2,000 MIPS, and I wasn't. The way it was connected, it was actually connected to this port, and I said to him, is there a difference in the 4 ports, 1, 2, 3, 4, that would be saying, no, it doesn't make any difference? Well, I pulled the serial number, and it was very specific where it said, these 3 that you can see, these are for phone connections and fax machines, but these 4 are for internet. And this is 1 gigabyte, this is 1 gigabit, this is 1 gigabit. But as when I pull the manual on this modem, it said the one in the lower left was 2.5. So 2.5 times the 1 gigabit. So I'm like, whoa. So I moved my Ethernet connection from here, of where the technician put it in, over to here. And guess what? All of a sudden, now I'm at 2 gigabit, which is absolutely wonderful. So the biggest thing with this modem is making sure you set it up right. All right, I'm going to shut down. I'm going to go to some other things for you.
Okay, I hope that didn't play double. But you're saying, well, I really learned a lot twice, 3 times. I'm not sure. It was only the second presentation as part of this was supposed to be a little over 2 minutes. And boy, I tell you, when you're waiting, it seems like you're waiting. So here's the bottom line. I am here to, if you need any help, the neatest thing with YouTube is you have the opportunity to ask questions. And if the biggest thing that I have always done, and I used to be a generator installer and generator company, still am actually, but I had to kind of stop a little bit because I couldn't deal with the heat any longer because of my age. Anyway, I love teaching. I love showing people how to do things. And that's how I basically learn, from watching other people's mistakes and saying, oh, how did they fix this? And, you find that, you come up against that same problem again and you go, okay, I remember from the last time. Anyway, this is going to be, in a sense, as I said, all power group, all power animal. That's my love. But also tech. And it's important, in my opinion, because, again, if I just didn't go to the next step myself of ensuring that I knew the equipment that I had received from Comcast, I would have been sitting at 1 gigabit speeds. Now, that's nothing to complain about, but if you have just the fact of being able to change one Ethernet cable from this port to number 4 and you get more than double the speed, it doesn't take too much to figure out that's probably a damn good idea. So anyway, thank you very much. And again, please leave any comments, things you liked, things you didn't like. You know, you can say anything you want. You know, it's a free country almost still, I hope. Anyway, I also do what we call politics in the middle, and that's trying to, I don't know, kind of make people, or make me feel better that maybe we're not really going down the tubes. Because we have a great country. We have great people. Yeah, we get a lot of angry people. We have a lot of people that aren't angry. So there we go. There's blue people, green people, mad people, not mad people. But then we have our animals. And if I didn't have animals, I'd be extremely sad. Anyway, thank you so much. Please, again, comment, review, say anything you want to do. Because, again, this is a new point of where I said, you know, I had this equipment. I found a problem. I had seen another YouTuber talking about the same modem. And I said, you know, I think people are missing the one port that's 2.5 gigabit instead of 1 gigabit. So I said, you know, I have to tell you. So thank you for being here, and I really appreciate it. Stay well.